and I lead Plant-Based Pittsburgh. And I just have a few announcements before we hand it over to the person who is actually doing the session today. One is, if please mute, and if you can't mute, I can mute you, but we want to keep it at mute during the cooking demo. And then if you have any questions, feel free just to write them in the chat box. That's number two. Is everybody that goes on one of our webinars automatically signed up for Plant-Based Pittsburgh newsletter. It's just easier and more efficient to just put everybody on, even though I see a lot of you aren't from Pittsburgh, which is wonderful. So if you get the next newsletter, it announces our Zoom, but also some Pittsburgh happenings. You can always unsubscribe from it. And the third announcement is that all of our Zoom webinars are on our Plant-Based Pittsburgh YouTube. So if you miss something, it will be posted in a couple days, and you can re-listen or share it. And without further ado, let me just say, Brittany DeRudy is plant-based cook extraordinaire and plant-based educator and VP of Plant-Based Pittsburgh, among other duties. So unfortunately, we don't get, usually in person, we get to taste this, but we just have to lick our chops and see what she's making here for our summer desserts. So I will hand it over to Brittany.
Thank you. Well, today we are going to make kind of a compilation of recipes. So I posted on my YouTube channel. Some of you guys might be familiar with it if you're here from outside of Pittsburgh. 2 different recipes that are whole food plant-based, refined sugar-free, oil-free, gluten-free, but not taste-free because it tastes delicious. Lemon bars and a key lime pie. And they're pretty much the same recipe, just tweaked a little bit in slightly different ways. And then today what I'm going to share with you is how to use it as like a parfait custard. So I'm going to show you how to do the pie, the bars, and the custard all within, I bet it won't even take an hour. It's a quick recipe. So to get started, I'm going to pull my key lime pie that I have in our freezer out, just to show you guys and to talk about this recipe real quick before we start. So key lime pie, for this one, the texture is more of a custard if you let it sit out and thaw out. We put it in our freezer and it firms up and becomes really, you can pick it up like right now. I'm gonna pick it up. See, it's really one piece and firm. The longer I let it sit out, the longer it becomes more soft. And that's really because we are not using like a nut source in this. We're not using coconut. It's really a low fat recipe. So it does get a little bit, okay, wait, can you guys hear me okay? Oh, can't hear me. Did I get muted myself?
Lisa, are you not able to hear? I guess not.
Some people can hear. I don't know.
We can hear.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Lisa just wrote that she is. I should say Lisa Glassman.
It might be a setting problem.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll keep going. So when the pie comes out after you freeze it solid, you can cut it and it'll hold its shape. And again, the longer it sits out, the more soft it gets. It still will hold its shape, but it becomes more custard-like. And that's like the end result. The difference between the bars and the pies are just the shape of the pan that I used, and it's the same crust. It just depends if you want to use a square pan for bars or if you want to do it kind of pie-shaped. So that's the only thing different between the lemon bars and the key lime pie. You can make it a lemon pie or key lime bars. I generally like recipes to create that are several uses. So for example, the first time I made this was the lemon bars, and then I tweaked it to use lime juice to be the key lime pie. So it's very easy to kind of make it several different ways. And then I'm going to show you how to make it into a custard too, which it was great for like a parfait as well. I'm going to put this on a plate real quick. You guys have a question? Sounded like somebody was going to ask something. All right, so just to show you guys. All right, so you guys can see up close that it's very solid. But we're going to use the same pan for our crust. All right, and so I'm using a silicone pan. We're not going to bake the crust. It's a no-bake crust. But I like to put it on a pizza tray because this is very like wobbly and soft. So if you're having trouble picking it up after you fill it, just put it on some kind of pan and that really helps. That's just a little tip I've learned. You make our pudding pie or anything like that, it works really well to put it on a hard tray. So this is just a pizza pan. That works perfect. Someone asked. Yes, someone else asked me that today about strawberries. You can make this a like lemon strawberry pie. You can tweak it a lot of different ways. The way that we're going to make a custard today, you could put granola, the custard, and then fresh fruit. You could do just fresh fruit with it. It totally depends. You can tweak it so many different ways, which is why when I cook, that's the way I like to do it. So we're going to make the crust. It's a no-bake crust. And again, everything is on our website and on our YouTube channel. You can watch me make this again. It's really simple. And you can get all of I'll send out links to both and with the recipes, but I just have them right here. So I'm just going to read it real quick while we go. So I have a food processor. And I like this because you don't have to bake it. It's really, really simple and easy. The step you do have to do ahead of time is to roast your sweet potatoes, which I'll talk about before we jump into the crust. I like to use Japanese sweet potatoes because they are sweet and they also have a white flesh inside of them. They're purple on the outside and then they have a white inner part. This is the preferred method. Now, can you use a different kind of sweet potato for this? Yes. And your color is going to be more on the orange side or a little bit off compared to the Japanese, but it still does taste good. So if you can't find a Japanese sweet potato where you live, you can use a regular one. Do not use a white potato. That's not the same. It won't turn out the same because we're using the sweetness of the potato to kind of help us not put so many dates in here. So you can use, like I said, you can use a regular sweet potato or whichever sweet potato you want to use. But if you can find the Japanese ones, which we have at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and our co-op here, and some nationality ethnic grocery stores also carry them, but this is the preferred version. But it does work. Just don't do it with a white potato. And what I like to do is I just like to poke a knife or fork marks all around my raw sweet potato, and then I just roast it. This is really going to help bring out like all of the sweetness of it. It's going to help caramelize it. It is the preferred way. I would not steam it. I would definitely roast it. That's the preferred method. And I generally just pop it in the oven at like 400 degrees for like an hour or 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the size of it. And you'll be able to pierce it with a fork when it's soft when it's done. But it's super easy. And then I just let it cool down in my oven. And you kind of want to mess with this in the blender once your sweet potato is cool. We're making something that's going to go in the freezer. So you generally don't want a steaming hot sweet potato to go into your blender, to go into your freezer. So just little tips. That's usually what I do ahead of time, which I have one here already done. I did earlier. So I just, like I said, I stabbed little holes in it. You can tell that it's done because the skin starts to like pucker a little bit, and it's really easy to kind of pull away. We'll unpeel it in a minute. But just to show you, that's generally the only step you have to do ahead of time with your oven. And if you batch cook, you can have it all set up and like ready to go in your refrigerator to use, which is great. The crust is really the best crust that I've found that doesn't have a lot of nuts or seeds in it. So if you're somebody who's following a low-fat diet, if you're on more of like a McDougall plan, this crust is really friendly. If you like to use walnuts or a different kind of nut in this, you totally can. This is just, I got a lot of recommendations for people that can't handle nuts or can't have nuts. So I wanted to give you guys a crust that is a little lower in fat, and this one definitely is. So I use 1.5 cups of just rolled oats, really easy to find. This is generally the oats I use for any type of crust recipe or crisp recipe. So that's 1.5 cups. You can double this recipe if you want a thicker crust. I find that it makes just a nice bottom for it, but it's optional. You can always double it if you want like sides to your pie as well. All right, and then I have 6 to 8 pitted dates. It really depends. So I usually start at 6. You'll be able to do a pinch test to tell if your crust is ready. So these are already pitted, but I just double check them because sometimes you get a pit in there, even when it says it's pitted. And these are medjool dates. So they're a little bit bigger dates. And, you know, you get so comfortable cooking that half the time you can just kind of feel your way and you don't have to even measure. So this kind of depends. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. And then if I need to, I can add more dates if it needs to stick together. All right, so we are gonna add our wet ingredients. So the dates are gonna help stick everything together, but you also want some liquid. So I have 1 tablespoon of a non-dairy unsweetened milk. And then I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So you can use whatever vanilla extract you like for that. If you don't have it, you can leave it out. You can also add spices to this. If it's fall, you can add pumpkin spice. You can add cinnamon. That's really optional. And then because we're making, you know, a lemon dessert, you could use the zest of a lemon to add a little bit more flavor, or you can leave it out. Like if you don't have it, leave it out. Totally optional. If you make the key lime, you can add the zest of a lime. So I have the link to my food processor is a Cuisinart. I actually am the worst person to break food processors. I went through 3 in 1 year because I drop them and like the lid cracks or some part cracks that you can't get a part for, and it's just like cheaper to buy. So I buy a really cheap food processor. So this one I think was anywhere from $30 to $50. Like I don't spend any more than $50 now on food processor. But I have it on our Amazon shop as well as the food processor I had before that I broke. So if you go to amazon.com/shop/the Drudy it comes up with all of like what Vitamix I have, what Breville Smart Oven Air we have, all the things, even this pan is on there. And I can put a link down at the end. So you're just gonna mix it all together. I'm gonna mute you guys just so you don't have to hear me blend for a second. All right, so now what I do is I do the pinch test, which I think I might need an extra one. So how you know that you have a crust that's gonna hold is that you should be able to pinch it together. And this is where you can add some more non-dairy milk if you wanted, or you can add some more dates. Mine's pretty crumbly, so I'm gonna add 2 more dates to mine. And then if it doesn't stick, I'm gonna add a little bit more non-dairy milk. And you guys will see the correct consistency. So give me 1 more second. All right, so I just added in like a splash of non-dairy milk, and it started to come together. I can already see it. So whenever it starts to pinch, it should kind of remind you of an energy ball that you can like push together, and you can see it holds. That's how you know that you have a good crust. And it just depends on your size of dates and just all, you know, there's so many variables that kind of go into it. So usually I just make sure it can hold together. And then all you're gonna do is, again, you can double this recipe if you add sides to your crust. But all you're gonna do is you're just gonna push it into your pan. And this is a no bake crust. You can bake it if you want it to be a little bit more dried out, but I find that I like it raw. I know it's less stuff I have to do. All right, and then you're just gonna use your fingers to kind of push it out to the side. Another thing that we do with this recipe is that we make, if you go to our YouTube channel, we make a recipe called fall granola, and it's just our granola that we like. And I like to layer that too into the mixture that we're gonna make in a second. So you don't have to, and you can, I've heard of people just like not making a crust for it too, if you wanna skip this step. Now this is just a really good crust in general. You can use whatever filling you like for this, and I like that it's so simple. It's really, see how many ingredients? Like 7 ingredients, less than 6 or 7, depending if you use the zest. So it's really, really simple, and I generally have all those ingredients on hand all the time. So it's really, really simple. And you just want to make it as even as possible. It may take an extra second to do, but it comes together really quick. You guys can see I'm almost already done. You can definitely do it in a spring pan. I just always have these silicone pans that are really convenient. Since we freeze the lemon tart completely, it pops out really easily. So you can just like peel it away from this pan, but if you have spring pans, it'll work as well. And you can always use like parchment paper that's cut out if you want to. But because it becomes, we want to freeze it until it's totally solid, it pops out super quick and easy. We saw Lisa ask that in the, you're welcome. All right, so just keep going until, you know, you can't see anymore. And again, you can double it and make sides to this if you want, but that looks pretty good. Now, I'm not gonna put our custard into this because I'm gonna make our chocolate pudding pie and put it in this later when we're off camera, because I already have the pie already in the background. And since I'm stuck eating all of this, my husband recommended me, we have so many lemon bars and key lime bars, we're gonna save this for our pudding pie recipe. So I'm gonna put this aside. For a second. And again, make, you know, it's really, really simple if you put it on something, because, you know, if I pick this up, it's kind of flimsy. Same when you go to bake with this, having something underneath the tray before you move it to the oven is really simple as well, and something we always do because it's so much easier getting it out than trying to move it. All right, so we're gonna move on to the main part, which is the blended part for our custard. And it's so easy and simple. And really the only tweak behind the lime and lemon is just using that juice. So unplug and replug back in. You guys could see how tiny that this kitchen really is. Every section count. All right. Got that cleaned up. So the Japanese sweet potato or regular sweet potato is the star of this recipe. And this recipe also is pretty forgiving. So while I cook at home for myself, and when we first start making these recipes for our channel, I don't usually measure, like I usually eyeball almost everything and then go back and measure it. And for the sweet potato, it's pretty much that. It calls for 3 cups of sweet potato, preferably the Japanese ones. And that's just kind of scooping it into a measuring cup. You can mash it down to make sure it's pack it in, but generally it's like this size. This generally makes 3 cups. So I'll go to the grocery store and look for the biggest one I can find, and that's what I use for this recipe. So if you're, 2.5 cups, you'll be able to tell if you need to add more liquid and kind of tweak it. So all I do is peel off. The skin's really easy just to kind of peel it off. And it might look kind of brownish. The inside middle is kind of a white yellowish color. That's okay. You just want to get the skin off. And it should just come off like super easy, just peel off. And like I said, you can use a regular sweet potato. So if you can't find one in your area, which was the biggest complaint people had, was that they couldn't find them or never had them or didn't know where to look for it. Just try it on its own. This is one of my favorite, I think Sally as well. One of my favorite sweet potatoes to try. We just even dice it up and I can snack on them with the skins on. It's a whole nother experience. But they are surprisingly sweet and very thick to use for a recipe. So also if you check out our channel, we have an eggnog, and in our eggnog, I use a sweet potato for the thickener and the sweetness, and it's great. You can't taste potato at all. Make sure you roast them up. So I have all the skin off, it looks like. Best job. So I'm gonna put this whole thing in my blender. I'm gonna cut it in half. I'm gonna put the liquid in first to help. Can move the skins out of the way. Without question. So yes, you can use the skins. We generally try to use the whole, this is actually like the best part of the sweet potato is eating the skins. So that will not get thrown away. That will get probably put on my salad tomorrow after, I think she said air frying them, but I'll either that or I'll just put them on, chop them up fine and put them on. Most of the fiber and everything, you don't want to throw away. Just eat the skins of any potato. So while it may not be the best in here, we still repurpose it so I'm not wasting any food. All right. So what I like to do is I like to put the liquid in first, because you want a high-speed blender. I know you can do this in a non-Vitamix, but having a Vitamix really does help. Also, if you cut them up, like I don't want to just put this whole thing in. You kind of want to help so you can see it's like yellowish white in the middle. You can just kind of cube it even or cut it a couple of times just to help make it not such one large piece. And that will help your blender out too. And putting the liquid in first helps as well. But this is really a thickening agent. So if you haven't tried our eggnog, eggless nog recipe, try it because it's really, really good with this. And it just makes it really, really, you'll be so surprised how much it actually tastes like eggnog. So in here, I have half a cup of non-dairy milk. I kind of eyeball it, but I made this recipe a ton. So once you've done it a couple of times, you're good. Half a cup of date paste, which I made date paste earlier. And if you guys aren't familiar with date paste, I have a video on how to make it. It's just 1 cup of dates to 1 cup of water that you've blended in your blender. And then it makes a thick paste. And we just keep it in our refrigerator. And I use it within 10 days of making it. And it's perfect. You can also freeze it as well if you make too much. Don't buy date paste from the store. It's a lot thinner. If you make it at home and then go to the store and look at it, you'll be able to tell. It looks more like maple syrup at the store versus at home. It's a nice thick, you'll see when I pour it in, but it's nice and thick. So always better to make it at home when you can. I'll show you guys. We'll look at it up close. So it kind of looks like applesauce, but it's definitely not the stuff you buy, like I said, at the store. It's thick. So you can tell it still has all that fiber. So that's half a cup. You can add more if it's not as sweet as you're liking. Everyone is different depending on how long you've been avoiding refined sugar. So while a half a cup might be good for me, you might need 3/4 of a cup or a cup. You can kind of play around with that. That's literally just to sweeten it as well. So I'm going to put in the sweet potato. And if your blender's having trouble, you can add more non-dairy milk as well. Or if you have a tamper, you can use that. It's going to be a thick agent. And then I have half a cup of lemon juice. So it's half a cup of everything, which is really another reason I like to recipe create, is that I like to use stuff where I don't even need, like I can look at it, but I also have it memorized. So half a cup for all the liquids is really simple. So you can use fresh lemon juice, or you can use pure lemon juice, whatever is more convenient to you. Today I'm just going to use this for today, but I have, used the fresh stuff as well. Right, and then we can blend. So you can zest your lemon as well if you'd like. If you zest a lemon, I would make sure it's organic for doing that. Anytime we use lemon zest, I make sure I buy the organic ones. It's worth spending just a little bit of extra money on it. And now we can blend. So I'm going to meet you guys one more time. And then if you were doing the key lime pie, you would just do half a cup of lime juice, fresh or from the jar. So it's really simple and easy to mix out. You can even do half and half. So if you wanted to make your pie and do half the filling lemon, half the filling lime, that's really simple as well. Or you could take, divide the recipe in half, make half of it, and then make half of it again. Then have a little bit of both to try. It's really, really nice. But my husband specifically asked me to do just the lemon today, so we have a little bit of that lime pie left, so I was just gonna do lemon tonight. All right, so I'm gonna put you guys on mute for just a second. Okay, so that took like no time at all, right? Really quick. And I'll show you guys the consistency. Again, you can add some non-dairy milk if your blender is sounding like you're really putting it together. But you can see that it's like custard-like, right? Okay, that's the consistency you want. You want it to be thick enough that you, like, put this over my head, wouldn't fall out on me. So what you can do now is you can refrigerate it and chill it. I like it served cold. If you want it to be a custard. So when we're gonna do a parfait, I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator. I'm not gonna freeze this one. Again, you can add granola, you can just add fresh fruit, you can eat it on oatmeal, you can do a million things with it. It's really, really good. Someone mentioned to put strawberries, I heard earlier, really good with fresh fruit. Berries, you can just add a little bit. This makes a lot. Let me see how many cups. It made like a little bit over 3 cups. You can also freeze it and then take like portion out maybe the only amount you want for the week. It freezes great. So if you freeze it, it will get, without the crust or with the crust, it'll get nice and solid. The longer, like when you leave it out for like 10 minutes, it gets custard-like. So just to show you guys, still pretty, but it gets a little bit softer. The longer we leave it out, you know, if you're taking it somewhere, it'll get softer, but it still holds its shape. So that's kind of personal preference, right? So you can make it into bars by doing the square pan or circle pan, or put it in a container and freeze it, or put it in your refrigerator, depending on like your size family or whatever you're doing. So I'm just gonna put it in a container for us. And then there's endless options. You can put this on pancakes. You can, anything that you would do like a lemon custard, you can do with this, which is great. You can do it into popsicle molds. So what I love, again, about recipe development and my recipes is that I just take them and like tweak it a little bit, and then it turns into 5 recipes that you can use for so many different things. So we made our chocolate pudding pie into our popsicles, and this as well could be a popsicle, or it could be, you know, a million other things I named. So it's just like recipes that just keep on giving, which is the way I like to cook. You know, I love cooking, but I also want stuff that's efficient and easy. So I'm gonna find my house somewhere on here, just a glass container that I will store this in, and then the rest that doesn't fit in here I'll just freeze, because I know we're not gonna go through more than this in a week with us. Do you guys have any questions? I'll be on Chef AJ August 15th. I don't know what I'm making for it yet, but serving suggestions for this, it really depends. You can, I would say like a cup probably, or half a cup, depending on if you add more berries to it. If you make it into a pie, it goes a long ways. You set the pie, you know, several different, depending on how small it is. So it really just depends what you're using it for. I would say good in the refrigerator for up to a week. Yep. But you can keep it in your freezer and just, you know, pull it out when you want. I'm not sure, Linda. You could try. I'm not sure about that. If you also want to make it more key lime colored, some people have messaged me about using spirulina. My recommendation would be you could even use some matcha powder or some spinach, if you really can blend it up well. But those are some ways if you want it to be like that real bright green. I probably would use matcha personally. But I mean, I just think it's such a fun recipe. Like I said, I'll probably, this weekend, I'll probably make waffles or pancakes, and just we'll put some of that with some raspberries would be really nice, or any fresh berries that you have. And it's really bright and refreshing. Another thing I didn't mention is that you should taste it at this point. If it's not sweet enough, you can always tweak it here. So, you know, make sure you taste as you go if you want to add. Some people said that they added like a full cup of lemon. I think that's a little too much, but you can tweak it to what you like here. And, you know, it's so great because you can go back in and make it sweeter. You can add more dates if you want, and kind of figure out what you want to use it for. Yeah, Linda, that's why I recommend matcha. And someone else talked about spirulina using. I recommend matcha for if you're gonna make it like a vibrant green. Yeah, it's like a lemon custard thickness to it. And then, you know, try it with the Japanese sweet potatoes, and then you can make it again with the regular sweet potato and kind of tweak it. And some people there's all different kinds of sweet potatoes that you can find now at the grocery store. You can kind of play around with what you like best. Personally, we really like the Japanese ones if we can find it. I just think it makes it totally different in sweetness and everything else. So you might have to tweak the dates a little bit if you use a regular sweet potato. It might be a little bit more than half a cup of date paste. Do you guys have any more questions? I feel like I've been rambling for a while now. It's really easy. I mean, this recipe is really, really simple.
Any other questions? You probably could use Hannah sweet potatoes also, Brittany.
Yes, yep, that would
Is
work.
there that light colored?
Pretty much anything but a regular potato.
Yes.
I can show you guys close what it looks like.
So we're all standing here looking, or sitting here looking at this, and every time you bring it close to the camera, I'm sure everyone's stomach is growling.
So it does get like nice and thick, you know, and it's not even been refrigerated. But we'll just put a lid on it and keep it. And like I said, you can do it in oatmeal. It's a really nice snack in between. You know, just this with some fresh fruit is generally how I enjoy it. It's nice at nighttime, especially here in Pittsburgh. It's a very starting to get warm. It's been cool the last couple of days, but very nice when you just pull it out of the refrigerator and it's nice and cold.
So I thank everybody who joined. If you are a Pittsburgher, just a final reminder that we're having our food drive on Saturday. If you can bring a food item or even money, it's all going to the Wilkinsburg Food Pantry. We're going to go Wednesday and give samples and recipes and the food. And so if you go on our website or go on the Facebook, it will show you the 2 locations that we will be on Saturday.
And someone just asked about the brand I use. It's called Lakewood, and it's just pure lemon, not some concentrated juice. The only ingredient is organic lemon juice. So that's the one I would recommend, just reading the label before you get it. But I mean, you can just, you know, it's very easy just to use your own too. So if you guys take any photos too, make sure you tag us on Facebook. We have a Plant-Based Pittsburgh Facebook group. Take photos of it, show us how you use it. You know, make sure you tell us, you know, if you use it some different way. I always love when people kind of tweak stuff and use a totally different way than I planned. I give so many more ideas for how to use the simple recipes. So yeah, you can put it on top. If you make the pie for the zest of a lime or a lemon, you can just put it on top and garnish it. It's really pretty to do that as well. We did that with this one. You can see there's a little bit of lime zest on top. Yeah, you can also use the blended lemon. So if you're following Dr. Grieger's How Not to Diet cookbook, and he has the blended lemon that I've made on our channel, where you're blending pretty much the whole lemon, you can definitely use that for this as well. Oh, good, yeah, and it's a great it's a great recipe because, again, a lot of times when I make them, I'm thinking about how much, you know, fat is in a dish, or, you know, how many calories when we do desserts. And if, especially if you make this a pie with the crust, you know, there's only 6 to 8 dates in the whole pie. And so most people cannot sit down and eat a whole pie of this, especially because it's a tart dessert. So, you know, the amount of dates that you're actually getting for dried fruit, if you're worried about that, is very minimal. Same with the date paste. You know, anytime we do a sauce or recipe, I try to keep it no more than half a cup. So, you know, again, you're sharing it with multiple people. It becomes a dessert. You don't have to feel, you know, you can actually enjoy and stick to your healthy lifestyle, which is what I love, because we definitely eat dessert here. We definitely enjoy desserts here. Someone made it with the purple sweet potato, and it also worked, and it was this gorgeous purple colored, magenta colored, and it was probably one of the most pretty dishes I've ever seen a photograph of. So you can definitely use a purple sweet potato. It would work with that too. Yes, so if you want it to be more of a thick pie, like that you can pick up, I would freeze it completely and then pull it out when you're ready to serve it. If you don't mind it being more of this consistency of a custard, it can go in your refrigerator. So it kind of depends. Yeah, they do turn out really pretty if you use the purple sweet potato. It made me want to try it for the next get together when we have one. But yeah, make sure you take photos, put them on our Facebook page. We would love to see what you guys do with it. And like I said, there's a million different ways that you can kind of make this and, you know, make it work for brunch all the way up to dessert. And I will send out an email to all you guys with the recording of this video because we are going to put it up, and a link to the recipes too if you missed it. You're welcome. Thank you guys for coming.
Brittany,
Yes.
I've been using this because it was suggested